Tackle today, the Justice Brothers from Tackle Trading bring you all the charts, news, and analysis so you can be informed in your trading decisions in just a few minutes each day. ASML caused a hiccup in the market yesterday. Markets overall looking, though, very, very strong when you look at most of the sectors. We're going to break it all down as earnings season continues underway. Not too late. Register for that AI webinar that my brother Matt, who is going to break down some charts here in just 2 seconds, is teaching tonight. Matt, give us one last pitch on this fantastic event coming up.
Yeah, going to be unveiling the AI watch list, the third version of the AI watch list here today at the AI Gold Rush webinar. You can register it by hitting the link in the description below, and or in Discord if you're in Tackle Trading's Discord as well. Going to have a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, the story for me on the charts today is tech trying to regroup after ASML. Everything else doing pretty good. That's a pretty straightforward story right now on charts. Break them down for us.
I think you just kind of described the market here today. A little bit of fading action on that ASML news that came out yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into stocks in the news, and a good day for the rest of the market, quite frankly. When you're looking at the heat map, that kind of tells that story a little bit. When you see kind of the top level a little bit red and kind of everything else a little bit green, that kind of tells you that the tech side of the equations, the mega cap type stocks doing a little bit of weakness showing today versus the rest of the market. But in general, a little bit of a mixed market here today. And that's not abnormal in earnings season, quite frankly, to have some mixed market days as you price in, for example, ASML yesterday versus what we were seeing in the rest of the market. But in general, just a little bit of a doji here in the S&P 500 as it slows down yesterday's downward pressure in price. When you're looking across the board at the other indexes, RSP looking really, really good, following a little bit of upward movement in price here today. We're seeing some relative good pricing happening in the cyclical areas of the market. Like we were talking about with the NASDAQ, yesterday's day was interesting in the sense that it kind of gave up that breakout channel from a very clean perspective. And yes, we can all thank ASML and releasing their earnings analysis earlier than expected for that volatility we did see yesterday. But what we want to see after something like that is we want to see that slow down. If you're a bull, obviously, you want to see that slow down. You don't want to see it just get right back up. You want to see it kind of go through a little bit of a pivot. And that's how I'm looking at this, is a little bit of a bull flag, seeing that 20 period moving average come into focus right now. Nice little upward movement in price would confirm that as a flag-based pattern. So keep an eye on the cues. Does need a little bit of confirmation. We don't need that from a technical perspective when you're looking at RSP, when you're looking at the diamonds. Obviously the Dow Jones looks really healthy at the top end of its chart as well. One chart to keep an eye on here, and we've been talking about it over the last few days, is that 225 handle on IWM. You are peeking your head above that level right now here today after a gap up and run away from the price action. Certainly seeing some relative outperformance on IWM, not just today, but over the course of the last 4 trading sessions. We are now quietly seeing some outperformance. Can it ultimately close above that 225 level? That's an open question. It is tested above that level multiple different times. We have yet to see a close on the daily chart or the weekly chart above that 225 level. It's been choppy. It's been volatile. There's no doubt about that. But it also looks like it can clean up if you do get that confirmation close. So keep an eye on IWM and that small and mid cap area. Is it starting to show a little bit additional momentum versus what we're seeing in the other indexes?
Yeah, I'm very, very curious to see if Taiwan Semiconductor, which will report before the bell tomorrow, can kickstart tech a little bit, but certainly lots of other charts to choose from for trading decisions today. There were no major economic reports, so we're going to get right to stocks in the news. It's earnings season. You got a lot of choice of what to discuss. Where are you going, Matt?
Well, we're not going to. We do have a lot of earnings here today, but they're not as important as some of the 2 major stories that is coming out today on Amazon and GM. Obviously, ASML kind of shocked the world yesterday, and so we're looking at their earnings here today. Outside of that, you had Abbott Labs, United Airlines, Morgan Stanley, Prologis, OMC. Those were kind of the names that reported earnings today. It does pick up as we do kind of remove ourselves from this day. But for right now, let's look at Amazon, GM, and ASML. When you are looking at Amazon here today, a continuation story that I've been following is these massive companies like Amazon, like Microsoft, OpenAI, these massive tech companies that need energy to power out their build outs from an AI perspective, a server perspective. Amazon is investing with Dominion Energy and Energy Northwest to develop small nuclear reactors. These are SMRs, and what they do is they will power the server farms that they need to, for AWS, for example, for their AI technology, for their AWS technology, for their servers. We're seeing it across the board. Not the first time we saw it a few weeks ago. Amazon certainly going down that route as well. That's one of the reasons why energy companies have, quite frankly, been trading like technology companies lately, is because of this build out. Amazon's going through it right now. GM secures a joint venture with Lithium Americas to invest $625 million in Thacker Pass lithium project. This secures basically it secures a lithium supply for GM building out electric vehicles, and so that happened on GM here today. And then on ASML specifically, on their earnings that was slated to be released today, they did release it yesterday. A little bit of a shock, and that's quite frankly the reason we saw the volatility in the semiconductors yesterday, why we saw tech underperform the market yesterday, and why we're talking about a flag-based pattern in the technology space right now as well. Well, that was all on ASML, and the concern is ASML did this last quarter, not reporting early, but kind of kickstarting some concern on the growth side of the equation with AI in general. Well, ASML reported earnings and they came in at 580 versus an expectation of 524. Pretty decent beat, about 10% against expectation. Revenue was up 13% year over year. The problem here is they slightly did reduce guidance. They reduced it just by a hair when it comes to the fourth quarter, but they did reduce it by about 13% for 2025. Now, was that 13% justifiable on a massive move down on ASML? Probably not from a guidance perspective, quite frankly. However, when you surprise the market and they're not ready for that, there is additional punishing that happens, and it happens all the time when you spook the market, when you release earnings in a non-scheduled environment, and everybody's kind of tracking that earnings for a variety of different reasons. Market participants are not going to be happy with that, and so you are seeing a sell down behavior. You're seeing the continuation of that sell down in ASML, and I would expect that to continue as traders and market participants lose a little confidence in ASML, quite frankly. Now, on the Amazon front, obviously some major news coming out on Amazon. This is not too surprising given the fact that this is a developing trend that is happening within the utility companies as well. And you're seeing utilities fire off this over the last 4 trading sessions. Off that pullback, the weekly chart on utilities was, quite frankly, pretty decent. Kissed off that 9 EMA on the weekly chart. And ever since that point, you are right back up at that resistance level. So this is why we're seeing utilities perform so well over the course of not just the last 4 trading sessions, but really over the course of the last 6 months or so. This technology investment into utility companies driving the AI infrastructure build out. AI is not just something that impacts semiconductor companies. And that's the thing that I think people are going to start to realize in the AI webinar later on tonight, is this is now firmly entrenched in phase 2 and the build out, impacting downstream companies and, yes, even utility companies. And so Amazon joins Microsoft, OpenAI, other tech companies in investing in energy companies to build out nuclear reactors to basically power their server farms. Now, the last news story we had was General Motors. And they secured that lithium farm. The one thing to keep an eye on General Motors here, it's a Tackle 25 stock. It has a resistance level of 50, and you got a short porch going into the earnings next week. And so this is going to be an earnings conversation for GM, but keep an eye on 50. Any gap up above 50 with earnings, that does open up quite a bit from a technical perspective. So keep an eye on that chart and specifically the $50 level of resistance.
Yeah, listen, the dealer's choice aspects of the market right now with a lot of healthy charts extend into commodities. Gold and silver up a little bit. Dollar still making its move though, Matt. I keep expecting a big fat series of dojis any day. Dollar is not just wanting to do that. It feels like now it just wants the 200-day moving average to see what it feels like.
Yeah, it's just fading up. Like no strong move, just a simple fading price action up. We haven't had any data to change it yet, quite frankly. We haven't had a economic report that came in where you're like, oh, that's a negative economic report. We got to reprice that into the dollar. You haven't had significant, you know, reduction in the concern on the geopolitical side of the equation, which obviously the dollar gets a safety bid in those situations. So you really haven't seen any data come out to start changing the trajectory of the currency. However, you are seeing that slow down little by little by little, but it just hasn't. You haven't seen anything to the downside yet. You have not seen. Just think about this in the last few trading sessions, and I'll remove my line and kind of dive in here a little bit so you can see it. You haven't even seen a situation since the wick on the 8th of October where you came in underneath the previous day's low. Only one time in the entire move to the top side here have you had one data point that came underneath the low of the day. Everything has been doji or up, doji or up, doji or up. And so we really haven't seen it change over. But you're also looking at that zone of the 20 weekly, the 50 weekly, kind of as that pocket gets filled there. You do expect it to start turning over a little bit, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look over to silver and gold, continue to try to push against that trend, holding their own. Silver trading in as a range, but gold is like it came up to the breakout level today, hesitated, feels like it wants it. Resistance is resistance for a reason on both of these charts, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but you got to be impressed.
Oh, absolutely, ridiculously impressed.
With specifically gold, but I also think you got to be equally impressed with silver here. Silver got punched pretty aggressively 2 days last week, but in general, going up against the dollar as the dollar's been just up, 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 and you're still in line for a silver breakout against it.
With a negative news flow on China this week, which caused the sell off last week and it didn't
That
impact silver this week.
No, in fact, it's fought right back up into that resistance level. And so keep an eye on that 29.5 level on silver. Still looks pretty good. Does have that one wick above it. A little bit of concern. On the gold side of the equation, very impressed. Just constantly testing some degree of resistance level. And the 2,700 level is obviously that all-time high pricing on gold. And so you would like to see a little bit of development here, maybe a little bit of a high base before it does break out, but that looks pretty good. On the copper side of the equation, you're seeing just a little bit of fading action here as that bullish retracement continues to come down lower and lower and lower, still fighting for confirmation. Ultimately, you do have massive support around 4.3. Just a massively important level of support. The 200s there, the 50s there, previous pivots are right there around that 4.3 level. So keep an eye on 4.3 if you're a copper trader. On the crypto side of the equation, Bitcoin showing a little bit of additional momentum, getting above that trend line. We talked about this extensively in the Traders Lounge yesterday. A lot of people like the breakout. Some people would rather wait for a pullback to see if we can get a confirmation increase in support, but that's a developing situation. Ethereum, which we don't talk about very often, but does have a decent reversal formation forming at the low point on Ethereum. And then on the on the crude oil side of the equation, just seeing the continuation of volatility. And this thing has not changed its behavior, whether it's up, whether it's down. In months, it hasn't changed its behavior, and that's what we're really kind of waiting on any crude oil analysis, really kind of even into the energy space. is simple slowing momentum here. We haven't seen it in candles. And if you don't see it in candles, you certainly can't see slowing momentum in patterns or trends. And so it starts with the candles. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, listen, one last chart before we close up. URA, that nuclear theme that you spoke with on. This is a chart that we have been talking about in the Traders Lounge for weeks.
Yep.
This one of the reasons when you're in the Traders Lounge, you get a lot of analysis, you get discussion, you get charts. We hold it every day. It is a fantastic reason to become a pro member. You can become a pro member by going to tackletrading.com. Sign up for a 15-day free trial today.